We're on to video 27, and this is the final drawing video. We're going to talk about Seaborn, of which I have a kind of love-hate relationship with because I love the graphs that it makes. I do love that it's less code than Matplotlib, but it's also less intuitive and a bit trickier to use sometimes. So let's just jump in. We're going to import pandas, then import Seaborn as SNS. We're going to load two data sets because we're going to use two different ones. We're going to inspect our data as we always do. And then we're going to jump into Seaborn. So to call Seaborn, we put SNS dot and then the name of the method or figure that we want to draw. So in this case, we're going to draw a bar plot. And then inside the brackets, you put the data source that you want. And we're going to use the first 200 rows for speed purposes. Then the X and Y value of the bar plot. And there we go. That's quickly. So as you can see, it's immediately a bit prettier than Matplotlib and only slightly prettier than Pandas. But it gives me everything we need in these lines of the confidence intervals. The next thing we might want to do, and we're just going to draw the same plot over again, is maybe add a white grid background. To do this, we put sns.set, then the style, and then white grid. And there's loads of documentation, so you'll be able to change that. Oh, it didn't work. There we go. For some reason, because this was already loaded, it didn't want to do it. But it's changed the hue slightly, and it's given us lines to mark off of. So now we know we can see more precisely where things start and end. Next up, we might want to just do a kind of a regular plot with a histogram. So we want to see the frequency of ratings in the data set. And to do this, we just do playdata.ratings.plot.hist. And then we'll give it 5 bins because there's going to be 5 rating categories realistically from 1 to 5. It's quickly loaded there. And that's it. That's how easy it is to get a histogram. You don't need to do any other work to it. If we want density, which is similar to a histogram, but it's a line drawing, and I think prettier version, instead of .hist and instead of putting in bins, we leave it blank. Instead of hist, we put density. Take a couple of seconds to run. Okay, so it's run, and it's pretty much the exact same graph as up there. But I think this one kind of points out the peaks and troughs a bit better. Next, we're going to create a reg plot, and we're going to do that with volume and trust. And that kind of gives us a scatter looking plot essentially. And we're using the majestic data for this, not the play data. There we go. So we can see kind of scatter plot and the kind of trend line direction it's going out on. So again, much prettier, maybe a bit more useful because it has these additional lines to show like the range. And then finally, we're going to do, which is like one of my most favorite graphs, or plots even. We're going to do a pair plot, which basically looks at the whole data set and pairs each dimension against the other, and you get to see it in one graph. But in this particular plot, we're going to add some more arguments. We're going to put plot keywords, which allows us to feed it a dictionary of things to do. So in this case, we're going to change the alpha to point to 0. The alpha is the opacity, essentially, like is it translucent or not, or partially translucent. And we're going to give it a height of 10, and it works in aspect ratio. So before, where we would set like the actual figure sizes, it will draw out an aspect. So it's going to 10 times 10, essentially 1. So it's going to be a square, essentially. Here we go. I'm just ignoring these warnings. A pair plot always takes a little bit longer because it's making multiple graphs in one run. And let's see it. So we've got a square, so that did work. We've got a pair plot, so we've got the different. So we've got it's difficult to see with the text here, but we've got trust here and volume here and citation here, and trust again here. And if we look at this bit, the scatter graph, this is the alpha working. Essentially, where it's darker is where it's clustered. If this was a flat color, you wouldn't see the range with the it kind of being dark in some places and light in others, so you can see all the clustering when you use alpha. That is a quick start guide to Seaborn. Seaborn's pretty massive. As I said, love-hate relationship. It creates really pretty graphs. It seems to be a little bit slower at times, and not as intuitive when it comes to figuring out like figure size and other things like that. But that's that. It's worth checking out and worth having in the back of your mind, because for things like pair plot, it definitely does make it a lot quicker and a lot easier. So if you liked the video, hit like. Any comments or questions, stick it in the comments. Subscribe. If you want to support the community, subscribe, and share with your friends if you really want to do as a solid. Alright, next video, 28, coming up. Ciao.